So this time last year, I was a very different version of myself. My skin was grey, my hair was dull, and basically everything about me had lost its spark. Depression is something that creeps up on you over time. You don't just wake up and one day you're like, there it is, I'm depressed. It just doesn't happen that way. Everyone has days when they're tired or feel low or don't really feel like doing anything. That's very normal, but it was only really when I took a step back and really thought about how I was feeling that I realised how unwell I was. I used to cry 4 or 5 times a day, or, wake up, burst into tears immediately at the thought of trying to get out of bed because it just felt so overwhelming. I stopped looking after myself. I didn't eat right, I didn't sleep right. I would either sleep far too much, I'd sleep the whole day, or I wouldn't sleep at all. I stopped socialising because my mind was telling me that I didn't fit in anywhere, and that was really isolating. I even felt out of place at the dinner table with my family, and that was really scary actually, because if you don't fit in with your family, where do you fit in? So depression is associated with sadness, but my experience of it, the only way I can describe it was like having a dark cloud over you all the time, like a fog that's just there, and I lost the ability to make decisions. I felt, indifferent about everything. I just had no motivation. It took me a long time to trust my feelings and actually have the courage to speak out and tell someone how bad it had gotten. But once I did that, I could get the help that I needed. I needed medication, and I got counselling. Once I'd been diagnosed with depression, the thing that I found the hardest was that I didn't know what thoughts were real and which were irrational. I couldn't trust my own mind. Medication is not a quick fix. What it does is gives you the motivation to be proactive in helping yourself. So it helps you get out of bed. And, I learnt the things that triggered a low mood and the things that could help me get out of a low mood. And it's kind of like a trial and error process of things that work for you. Even after taking medication for 6 months, I was still, the darker days were further apart, but there were still times when, there are thoughts of whether it would be easier just to not be here. I was on an aeroplane and willing it to crash, or standing on a tube platform and really just thinking about how easy it would be to just not be here anymore, and that's really distressing to think about. But one of the things that a doctor talks to you about when you speak out about mental health is the benefits of exercise and how it releases endorphins in the brain. But it was in April last year that my godmother recommended I watched a documentary, and it basically followed a group of individuals who had mental health problems, and it followed them as they trained together for the London Marathon. And it was basically advocating the use of running as a coping mechanism for depression. And I was so inspired by it that I got a pair of running trainers and started running. Basically had to start from scratch because I was the most unfit person ever. This is coming from the girl who my PE teacher, when I was maybe 15, she described me as the laziest student she'd ever taught, which I kind of still take pride in that. I knew that I wanted to get to 5K. I had a goal, but the steps to get there were really manageable. The thing with it was that initially it gave me a reason to get out of the house, even if it was just for that half an hour. The thing with running is that it's as much a mental challenge as it is a physical challenge, but my mind switches off. It's like a breath of fresh air for my brain, and the fog that's swirling around it just eases off a little bit, and you just get a brain break, and it's amazing. It's like the first time that, that you don't have all of these anxieties and these worries. So I got to 5K, and then by October I was running longer distances, and I entered a 10-mile event. It gives me a plan and a constant in the times where everything else is so crazy in my head, and it grounds me. It basically helped me in my journey away from depression. I still run now, love it. And if I hadn't have been proactive in helping myself, then I would never have known that running helps me so much. So my hope is that in sharing my experience, it shows people that there's no shame in mental illness, and that that's what it is at the end of the day, it's an illness. If you speak out, odds are the person that you're talking to will have some experience of it. They might have a friend or, you know, a relative, or they might even be going through something like it themselves, or they might have gone through it before. So it's so important that we get this conversation going and just show like it is a normal part of life. You know, depression doesn't go away, you have to fight it off. But if you push through the dark days, the brighter days will come.